Good evening, good morning, good night, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to this very, very special edition of Broken Not Shattered. What a year! We have had phenomenal stories on this platform. At some point, one does this and you feel as if you have to give up or you're not making an impact. But my team and I decided to do a recap and see what's going on in 2025. We've had great stories. The story like Jeff Krusnell, who was diabetic. Jeff had insomnia, experienced brain fog, and believe it or not, just had chronic fatigue. But Jeff was able to turn around his diabetes, lost 60 pounds, and was able to get his life back. What a story. Is it Lamson, a mother who lost her son Harvey at 35 weeks? That one broke my heart. But she turned that experience around, another survivor, to help others and encourage them. We have had stories of several people who have been broken on this platform. But despite their brokenness, they're back to tell a story. I remember Sonny who went through a lot of trauma. His journey as a child was embedded with a lot of traumatic experiences, abuse, and then eventually he ended up in prison. While in prison, he got himself back. Sonny was able to find mentorship and self-discovery, and now Sonny is helping others. Brianna Seawood, the nurse who loved helping people, serving those who were vulnerable and those who were weak and those who were sick. But on her way back from work, got into this deadly accident that broke her spinal cord and left Brianna a C2 spinal cord injury survivor. The stories go on and on and on throughout the year, Sunday after Sunday. My team and I show up just to inspire you, to give hope to the hopeless and a voice to the voiceless. One story that stood out for me this year was Mason Sawyer, the brother who lost his wife, his two children, his brother, and his nephew in a freak sandstorm that led to a 22-car pileup. And instantly, in a flash, his family was gone, except for his son Blue. But right now, Mason is actually helping others and inspiring them through this painful journey. To my audience who have been with us from the first day of the year till today, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for tuning in. When I started, I had black hair. Now I have gray hair. Not just joking. But at the end of the day, it's been a journey, and we couldn't have done that journey without you. We have one more show for this year, which is going to take place on the 21st. After the 21st, we're shutting down, and we'll be back again by God's special grace in 2026. But before we wrap the year, we hope that we'll be able to have a special giveaway session on the 21st. It's going to be our Christmas bonanza. We're going to be able to give away stuff. If we can't do it on this platform, then we're going to do it on ground wherever we find ourselves. My team and I are working tirelessly to make sure we give back. If the platform can't do it, then we're going to go to where people need help just to help them. We need your support if you can. If you can't, just keep us in prayer. Thank you again for being with us throughout 2025. Now let's go and have a good look at the recaps we've chosen for 2025. The stories are plenty. We just had time to pick a few. Take care and stay blessed. Peace, love, and more grace. And welcome to another edition of the BNS podcast. We're back again like clockwork every Sunday Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. But my guest today is in a different part of the country. He's in the West Coast. Welcome to the studio, Jeff. How you doing, buddy?
Okay, great to be here, Ike. I'm just back from Turkey. Man, I don't know what time it is.
So what part of, I've been there. I was there last, I think 2 years ago, in Istanbul.
Yeah, I flew through Istanbul, but I was in near Bodrum, which is on the west coast of Turkey on the Aegean Sea.
Wow.
And it was a fabulous event conference there called the Harvest Series with different, thought leaders and public intellectuals and wellness folks. Very interesting.
Wonderful. Your journey is very unique, and it's a very interesting subject matter that a lot of guys, especially mid-age guys, actually deal with. Because I'm there, Jeff. So so it's I'm comfortable in that space. It's a topic that when we talk about it, most of the times it sounds very, very scary. But you have emerged as one of the guys who have turned things around. So what we've done, we've captioned this particular series as diabetes, small changes, big impact. Now, diabetes is a big, big, big issue. Last time I checked, about over 38 million people in the US either are pre-diabetic or actually diabetic, right? And diabetes in this part of the world is a big one for different reasons, right? Which, of course, you will talk about based on your story. But share your story with us. First of all, who is Jeff?
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, my story is in some ways so ordinary and not extraordinary, and that's what actually makes it kind of very important story.
Right.
Because, like you said, 13% of Americans now, or American adults, have diabetes. 50% of American adults have diabetes or pre-diabetes, and 90% of those people don't even know it, right?
Correct.
But they're experiencing a lot of what I call these anodyne symptoms of modernity. And I'm sure so many people out there can relate to this. Now, do you have brain fog, chronic fatigue, maybe a little insomnia, maybe a little irritability, maybe the inability to concentrate or the need to constantly check your phone? Or maybe if you're a kind of midlife male like me, maybe you've got a little dad bod, right? A little inner tube, little inner tube around the middle. Or maybe you got a little of the man boobs, the man right? Yeah. There's a clinical name for that called gynecomastia, but my daughters call it man boobs.
That's right.
And other kind of insults to your vanity. And as you know, we get into middle age, so many Americans experience this that we've normalized it, but it's totally abnormal. I mean, if you actually go back to the beginning of the 20th century in the early 1900s, there was about a 3% obesity rate. And if you look back and check out how we evolved on the Serengeti of East Africa. Nobody had diabetes or metabolic dysfunction or obesity. It just did not exist. So this is really a disease of modernity. And the crazy thing for me was I've been in the wellness industry most of my life. And 5 years ago, I found myself with all of those presentations that I just named. And then, finally, I put this little disc on my triceps. And for those watching on the video, they can see that. That's a continuous glucose monitor, which zaps my blood glucose measurements to an app. And I put that on, and lo and behold, I looked in there, and my fasting blood glucose was off the charts. It's 125 milligrams per deciliter, which is not going to mean that much to a lot of people, but what that is, it's the highest end of prediabetes, lowest end of diabetes. And then finally, I actually didn't cancel my appointment with my PCP, as so many men do, right? Where that annual visit comes around and we'll just kind of push it off. But I went to go see her, and lo and behold, she ran some blood panels, hemoglobin A1C test, and she diagnosed me with diabetes. And so this was a huge wake-up call for me, as someone who thought they were kind of pretty healthy. Yeah, I was carrying some additional weight. I was 210 pounds, but I was still shopping at Whole Foods and raising my daughters and paying my taxes, and I was like a respectable member of society. And then all of a sudden I had a chronic disease. And this is just the plight of so many people now. I mean, 60% of Americans now have one chronic disease. 40% of Americans have two chronic diseases, and we generally treat these by just throwing pharmaceutical drugs at it just to treat the symptoms, but never the upstream root causes. And before I started, a lifetime supply of insulin and metformin, I wanted to try to find another way. And so I went out and interviewed 450 doctors about health and about metabolic dysfunction and why we're so sick as a society. And, I came up with my thesis, which was my chronic disease. And the overwhelming majority of chronic disease is the result of chronic ease, that we've engineered our society at almost every level for convenience and comfort. And that's hijacking our biology. It's literally using our engineering against us. We're supposed to be a little fat on the Serengeti in the fall because winter was around the corner, right? And there would be a paucity of calories that would keep us lean and activate all these other resilience and longevity pathways. But now we live in a world where essentially winter never comes. Like, Ike can order up anything he wants, Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, French fries, Wendy's, and by the time we're finished here, it'll be right at your door. And so this kind of convenience is, it seems great on the surface, but it's leading to a lot of very inconvenient truths. And that was certainly the case for me.
Maris, introduce yourself to our audience, please, across the world.
Yes. Hello, my name is Marist. I am a mother to my sweet son, Harvey, who I lost at 35 weeks. I am the founder of Marist Inc. and Actualized Lifestyle. So I have a marketing company and a lifestyle brand where I like to help people show up as authentically and transparently online as possible.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah.
So you want them to show up authentically and
transparently.
Okay, so I like that. I wanted you to say that because that's where we're going to go with this whole session this weekend, talking about how transparent your life has been based on your recent hypes. Let's take you back a bit to the moment you first learned about you were expecting Harvey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that actually was almost a year ago. It'll be a year ago next month where I first learned that I was pregnant with him. My husband and I have been together for we've been together for 10 years, and we were very open to getting pregnant right away. It took us 9 years to get pregnant. So when we found out we were pregnant with Harvey, it was a complete surprise. We didn't think we could get pregnant, and he was our first.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you had any kids after Harvey?
Nope. It's only been 4 months since we lost Harvey.
Wow.
So it's fairly recent, but we are hoping to get pregnant again.
And it will come to pass. It will definitely come to pass. There's a mother out there or a couple out there who have waited or still waiting to enlarge their family. There's a desire to have a child at home, but it hasn't happened for whatever reason it is. What would you say to that mother or that family?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm a big believer that our children come to us when they feel like it's the right time for them to come to Earth. So I believe that the souls of our children choose us as parents, and they choose to come here to learn something and to experience something or to shape the lives of their parents. So for myself personally, I love to encourage other women and other parents who are struggling and kind of in that waiting period to not only hold on to hope, but for me personally, I found a lot of joy and kind of preparing myself. So just kind of thinking well, how can I be the best version of me? Just leading up to becoming a parent so I can be the best version of myself for my children who choose to come here.
I believe in faith. I believe in destiny and divine appointments and divine timing. I also believe that. So let's just say for medical reasons, a mother can't have a child. The couple or the parent decides to adopt a child. When it comes to adoption, isn't that the choice of the parent selecting the child they would ideally want, and not at that time the choice is not the child's choice?
Yeah, but I guess I would believe in that sense that child already always knew that they would end up with those parents. that was just part of the greater plan.
That's good. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm sold. Good. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, that's a very big teachable moment for me. Okay, good. Okay, so I have a question for you that someone asked, and let me just put on my glasses to make sure I read it correctly. Okay. So it says, please take a moment and tell us when things started getting or going wrong during your pregnancy with Harvey.
So I found out that Harvey was diagnosed with growth restriction when I was 25 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So when I was things were going smooth for a very, very long time. And once I was 25 weeks, I just found out that it's called IUGR. And it's just, if people are in the world, then it could be considered common. But for the grand scheme of things, it's a pretty rare thing that can happen. And all it means is that the baby's not getting what it needs from the mother's placenta. So it's not able to grow. It really is more of like just a weight thing. Like he grew and developed fully, he just didn't have a lot of weight on him.
That would definitely have a psychological impact on you. What kind of emotions were you feeling? The responses, I can hear you sounding stronger now, but I can guarantee you at the time it wasn't the easiest thing to navigate. Obviously, you might have had a great support system that helped you. There's someone out there who's looking to hear someone tell their story and share. Can you just open up a bit and just let us know what it was like?
Of course, yeah. So I think one of the hardest things as a woman and a mother is we're told a lot that our bodies know what to do. And you have so little control when you are growing a baby. You have not a lot of control over knowing what's going on. You can't predict what's going on. And for a woman going through a pregnancy, I think anyone that's been pregnant can relate. It's extremely taxing on you mentally to be constantly worried about your baby. And even when you get past those initial stages where miscarriages are common and you pass certain milestones, you still have no way of knowing for a fact what's going on with your baby. And to be told that my body just wasn't giving my baby what he needed is upsetting. And it was super challenging for me to accept at first that there's nothing I could do. There wasn't a pill I could take. There wasn't an injection or a shot I could get. There was nothing I could do to give my baby the nutrients that he needed in order to properly grow. And I had no clue how long my placenta was gonna sustain his life. And ultimately, it was a super rare thing that his life would have ended in stillbirth and that my placenta would have failed the way that it did. And just waiting for that and hoping that he would be taken out and that I would give birth to him before that would happen. And the doctor's appointments, I had to go to doctor's appointments every 3 days once I found out. So I'm in the doctor's appointments every 3 days, doing the best that I can to advocate for him and hopefully see that he's growing and that my placenta is not failing. And yeah, it's very taxing.
Listening to you talk is still a little emotional for you. I can see it in your face, in your voice. Let's take a break here just for everyone to kind of readjust, and then we'll come back and talk some more, okay? And today my guest is Sonny Von Cleveland, right? Correct?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me, man. I'm doing fantastic, man. I appreciate you having me on, Ike.
Good. So, Sonny, tell us a bit about who you are, where you're based. And you have such an incredible story, Sonny. I must say, from one brother to another, man, this is a strong story. And to see you now using that platform to do great things is awesome.
Thanks,
awesome.
Man.
I just want to say up front before we even start talking.
I greatly appreciate you, man. I I live in Palm Springs, California. I'm a motivational speaker, an author, and a content creator, photographer and videographer, and an entrepreneur. And I live my life by passion, and I have a desire to help people learn how to heal based off of the experiences of my life. I try to use my story to inspire other people to know that they're not alone in this lifetime, and to be able to heal by using our voice, right? Telling our story, owning our truth, regardless of the feedback from the opinion galleries. I've come to find and learn, I've tried every route of Band-Aid that you could think of to heal. And I came to the realization that it's just through using this wonderful gift we have called a voice. And this is our healing mechanism. It hurts to talk about our pain, our abuse, our trauma, and our tragedy. But the more that we do it, the less that it hurts. And speak about it until it doesn't hurt anymore. And that is healing. Sure.
Let's go back to your childhood growing up. How was life like?
On the outside, I had a pretty normal looking childhood from a small town in the middle of Michigan, right in the middle. And, had a single mom home, me and an older brother who's 19 months older than I was. But behind the scenes, it was wrought with abuse. At the age of what comes to now be 3, I started to be molested by my uncle. And then over the course of the next 8 years, 5 or 6 other men joined in on that circus. And I was constantly abused, and 3-4 times a week throughout my life. As it comes to unfold, I go in depth in my book, Hey White Boy, Conversations of Redemption. I go in depth and talk about everything. But after the book went to press, I started to talk with more family members that I haven't spoke with, and people from my past, and started to piece together a lot of missing components that I didn't put in the book, especially from my mother. My mother kind of clued me in and let me know, like, I only talked about 4 guys in the book that molested me, but turns out it was 6 or 7. And I thought it started when I was 5. Turns out it started when I was 3. And that showed a lot to me about what we do as human beings and how we mentally block things out because of trauma, and which can then make it much more difficult for people to heal, because sometimes we repress memories and we can't heal something that we can't recall. And it can still manifest itself toxically in our lives because it's a subconscious memory, and that pain will still be festering and existing, and your body keeps the score. Right? Your body is going to keep count of the toxicity that exists within it. So if we don't expel that toxicity, it's going to come out in forms of diseases or mental, emotional problems. We might develop addictions, or we might act out behaviorally in ways that we normally wouldn't act out, because we are masking pain, and the body is not designed to house pain or trauma. And it wants to get it out. Like we notice when we physically injure ourselves, the body heals itself.
That's correct.
The body tries to do the same thing with emotional wounds, but it has to have a vessel to heal. So when our bodies heal from physical things, the elements of the earth help that heal. That's why we develop scabs. That's why there's plasma and the body heals itself. But when it comes to an emotional wound, it doesn't have the capacity to do that. We have to give it some type of vessel or some way to expel that toxicity, and that is through our voice. So when I was 7, I started to get into trouble. I broke into a church, and I was arrested in 1988, and I was charged with a felony in this small town that I lived in, which don't know how you charge a 7-year-old with a felony, but alas, it's on my record. And they put me on probation for 60 days. And when I got put on probation, all the guys that were abusing me stopped abusing me.
Back in 2020, your life was fine. You were living the life of a nurse and doing your thing. And then all of a sudden, somewhere around August 2020, am I correct?
Yeah.
Everything changed. Take your time and share that story before or after with our audience, if you don't mind.
Perfect. So I think the best thing to know and where to start is being a nurse is not what I did, but who I am as a person. And it's something I always knew. There's pictures of me at like the age of like 6, forcing my little cousins to be my patients. And I had made IV bottles with red food coloring for blood transfusions. I was very passionate at a young age about healthcare, and I always knew I was going to be a healer, whether that was going to be a doctor or nurse. I always knew that. I knew that in my soul, I think. And it took me a little bit longer than most. I did struggle until I got to my nursing program. And when I finally got in there, I soared. I went from being like a C+ student to an A+ student. I graduated at the top of my class. I was valedictorian. I graduated with academic merit and honors and on the dean's list. And I knew from that moment forward that like this was something I was always meant to do. And I was so proud of that. Up until that moment, it was the proudest moment of my life, walking across that stage, getting my pin in front of my family who had traveled very far to come and watch my graduation. And from that moment forward, my life was about to start. And I remember vividly thinking one day on my way to work, this is it. Like me, my boyfriend just bought our first house. I am finally a nurse. I'm in my career. I got a full-time job right out of school. Like, this is it. Life is just starting now, and it's finally here for me. And I was 27 by the time it started. Already, I thought it was much later in life than your life is supposed to start. Yeah. And I loved it. The thing about that is I was a new nurse in the end of 2019 going into 2020. And as you know, COVID started. And I was a nurse through some of the height of COVID, I would say, and especially where I worked. It was a very small rural hospital. And right away, when I started working there, I became part of this beautiful family that was there. It was small. So you got to know everyone very quickly, and they became my family. I saw them more than my real family, so they became my family, and why I showed up for them the way I showed up for them. There's something I truly believe, that everything happens for a reason. I truly believe that there is a reason for everything, whether it's good or bad, whether it is a lesson or something for you to learn along the way. And I also believe that there are signs, and everyone always says follow your gut, and that there are signs that maybe you should watch out for. If something is saying no, if you are late for work because you burn your toes, they say, okay, I'm late because I missed a car accident. I missed all those things. And one night I was on my night shifts, and there was a patient. He was in a state of delirium. And so he was in 2-point restraints, but we didn't have enough staff at the hospital. It was very small. So we only had me and 2 other nurses and 1 health grade. And traditionally, when you have patients in these types of restraints, there needs to be someone with them 24/7. Like, they can't be left alone, obviously, in case they need water or something. And the person that was watching them was leaving, and I heard him calling out. I was at the nursing station, so I approached the bed. And I told him who I was, what I was doing, and I was going to get him some water, and the water was next to his bedside table. I knew he couldn't see where he was, and I didn't want him to be alarmed or confused. And I walked up to him, but he was a very tall man, and he was able to draw his legs up. And I guess throughout this time, he had been wiggling in his restraints. And so he was able to turn his body ever so slightly. He drew his legs up and he kicked me in the stomach. I'm 5'1" for reference, and I was about 125 pounds at the time, and he was 6'5", I think, and almost 300 pounds. So I flew across the room. And it was like the most, like, it knocks the wind out of you, and I was instantly sore. And the doctor, who I referred to as my work dad at the time, said, like, you know what, kid, like, I'll write you a note, stay home tomorrow. Like, you shouldn't come to work tomorrow. And during night shifts, most healthcare workers will get this, that it's very hard to find someone to replace a shift. And it was even harder during COVID. And I remember waking up for my next shift, and getting out of bed was so hard. I was so sore, but it felt more like pulled muscles. And my boyfriend was like, you cannot go to work. You can barely move. What are you doing? And I'm like, once I'm standing, it's fine, because I saw my shift hadn't been picked up. And I knew that the ward was full. There was a lot of COVID patients, a lot of really sick patients, and we had no staff. And I wasn't about to leave my family left hanging. When I knew I was standing up, I was fine. And nurses don't really get to sit anyway, so I didn't think it was going to be a problem. And I remember going to start my car for that shift. My car didn't turn over the first 2 times. And I'm thinking, did I leave a light on? Did my battery die? Good thing my boyfriend's here because I don't know how to jump a car or start a car like that. So it did end up turning over. And I think back on that now all the time, that those were the signs. That was a sign from God or the universe that I was not supposed to be on the road that next day. That some sort of higher power was trying to keep me at home, and I didn't. I went against every instinct, everything that tried. I went to work. And I went. My shift was relatively unremarkable. And the last thing I remember about being at that job actually was laughing with my nursing colleagues at the nursing station. And I think of that often because that would have been the last memory they would have had with me, would have been joy and laughter. And I try to carry that into every situation now. If this is the last time someone is ever going to see me, whether I'm frustrated with them or not, or angry or not, I don't want the last thing for them to remember something poorly. And I think about that often now. And I remember walking outside and the sky was this like beautiful blue. I live in Canada, and that already in August, mid to late August, it was already cold, but the sun was warm. And so I knew it was going to warm up to be like a beautiful day, not a cloud in the sky. And the irony in that now is surreal, because I just remember, like, this is going to be a beautiful day. I'm going to go home. I'm going to sleep for a little bit and hang out outside with Ryan. It's going to be a great day. Only about 10 to 15 minutes away from home, a reckless driver thought he could beat 4 lanes of highway traffic and sped out in front of me, and I T-boned him going 103 kilometers an hour.
I am in the house today with a very special guest on this podcast. For me, I think this is one of the greatest stories I've ever heard. My guest today is Mason Sawyer. Mason is based out of Utah. Mason, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Good. How's your son coming along?
I'm so glad you asked. He's doing so good. He just turned 8, and he's playing football and skateboarding and going to school and reading, and he's doing a lot. So he's at a very fun age. So he's doing good.
I don't know how you're here, brother. That's how I decided to see it. It's just for the grace of God that you went through what you went through, and you're still being able to now pull back and help others. But I'll let you tell the story yourself. Tell us, 2021, your life was normal until what date? What happened?
Yeah, my life was very much normal. I was a high school basketball coach. I married my high school sweetheart, Courtney.
Wow.
We had 3 kids together, Riggins, Blue, and Frankie, 2 boys and a girl. And life was good, man. Courtney was a nurse. I was a teacher and coached basketball. And then I got a phone call. I got a job offer from this place in southern Utah. They wanted to hire me to be their basketball operations guy, which meant training players, putting together AAU teams, and just being a full-time trainer. And I don't know what that sounds like to you, but that was like my dream job. Like,
that's big.
yeah, I was ecstatic. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. So I tell my wife Courtney about it, and she's like, well, yeah, we have to. So we moved to southern Utah. Courtney becomes a home and hospice nurse, and she loves it. She gets to travel and visit people as they're getting close to the end of their life.
Hmm.
And then I'm starting my new career as this basketball coach, and our 3 kids are loving the new place we're living, and things are going good. And then probably a couple weeks after I accepted that job, it was our family reunion that we do every year, and we never miss them. But the weekend of our family reunion was the same weekend as our first basketball tournament, with me being the new coach. And so I just felt like I couldn't miss the first tournament. Like, I just took the job. I got to show them that I'm committed. And so I told my family we weren't going, and everyone understood. It was no big deal. And then a couple of days go by, my wife, Courtney, comes up to me and she's like, hey, you're going to be coaching all weekend. I think I'm just going to go to the family reunion. I'm like, great. Kids will love it. You should call my brother. My brother Race lives in the same town as we do. He's going to the same reunion. So I thought maybe they could follow each other or drive together or something. So she calls my brother Race, and he has similar thing going on. So his wife and 2 of his kids are not going to the family reunion, but my brother Race and his youngest son Ryder are going. So my brother Race and my nephew Ryder get into my car with my family, and they go to the family reunion. That Sunday, I'm just laying in my bed, literally waiting for them to come home. My wife, Courtney, texted me a couple hours before and was like, hey, vacation was great. We're coming home. Be home in a couple hours. And I text back like, great. Can't wait to see you. So I'm laying in bed, and I get a phone call, and it's an unknown number. And I usually don't answer it, but I answered it, and it says, hey, I'm Dr. So-and-so. There's been a terrible 22 car pileup, and everyone's dead except for one person. That's kind of what I heard. There's a chance he told me much more clear. My brain was immediately broken, fell to the ground, just crying. And I just remember hearing this noise, like realizing that noise was me. Like that noise is coming from my body. I think I said you're joking, like this is a joke. So there's shock, there's crying, there was anger, there was denial, and so through all that, I just kind of hear one survivor, and so part of me is like, okay, like, and so I remember just praying, like, don't let it be my brother or my nephew. Just kind of remember like praying for that, and then
take your time, man. Take your time.
And then so I pick up the phone, and he's like, the survivor is a 3-year-old. So that means my wife's Courtney's dead, and then my son Riggins is dead. My daughter Frankie's dead. My brother Race is dead, and my nephew Ryder's dead. So just hard, But my son Blue, he survived. He had a broken hand, and he had like a deep cut on his head. He survived, and so that's why I'm still here. And yeah, that's kind of a little bit of my story.
My heart goes out to you, brother. And that is a lot. That's a lot to deal with. That's a lot to handle. That's a lot of for anyone to go through at any given time. But the most important thing is that you have now been able to recover. Do you want to take a break, or do we keep going?
No, I'm good. Sorry, this is how it usually goes for me. But I'm good. I'm good. Sorry. I pride myself on being genuine and picking up on whether or not someone's genuine. And I thank you so much, man. You are a genuine good dude, and I really appreciate this conversation just for this conversation's sake. Like, even if it was never recorded, I needed a good cry and some laughs and to be heard. And so thank you, man. I really appreciate you listening. A lot of podcasts I go on, people love to talk. And the listening, there's not a lot of listening going on. And you're a good listener, and I appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Mason. Take care, and let's stay in touch, brother. I'm going to get my team to give you my cell phone number just in case you want to call. Just text me, and then we can go from there. Okay, man?
All right. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. It's a wrap.